The Swiss watch industry depends upon its manufacturers, which are defined by their blending of traditional craftsmanship with cutting-edge production technology. Yet, many people are unfamiliar with the French term maison. It's interesting to learn that a maison is a company with experience in manufacturing a wide range of luxury products aside from watches. Using Piaget as an example, we can explore what distinguishes a true maison de luxe. Then the question is it the quality of the employees or the services they offer that sets them apart? Our quest for an answer led us to the Vallée des Joues, more specifically to the quaint village of La Côte-aux-Fées, a world away from the trendy boutiques of Geneva and its surroundings. It's difficult to imagine that this pastoral heaven, its coat of arms adorned with a shaggy sheep, would even be known had Georges-Édouard Piaget not established his first store here in 1874 at the tender age of 19. The village's name, a French term that roughly translates to sheep grazing on the slopes, perfectly encapsulates its peaceful and idyllic nature.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us here in the manufacturer.
Piaget is a name synonymous with luxury and elegance. It is a brand that has stood the test of time, remaining relevant and desirable for almost 150 years. But behind the glamour and sophistication lies the story of a man who turned his passion into a business and his business into a legacy. Georges-Édouard Piaget is a name that evokes curiosity. Who was he, and what was the driving force behind his manufacture? It's astounding to think that a 19-year-old, 149 years ago, could formulate a marketing philosophy that still holds significance today. Always do better than necessary. In other words, strive for excellence that surpasses what's merely adequate. To gain a deeper understanding of his remarkable story, we turn to Jean-Bernard Fourreau, who served as the head of Piaget's design department for 15 years and currently oversees the brand's history as the head of patrimony since 2021.
The founder of the company was somebody very visionary for that time, with a strong entrepreneurial spirit. If we come back to the year 1874, probably you know that at that period of time, the supremacy of the watch industry was challenged by the United States, that used to have a more mass production of watches. And so he decided not to go for volume, but for quality, and to invest his talent in the development of components of high precision with the intention of thinness. And I think that's something very visionary, because it built his own company at the age of 19.
Georges-Édouard Piaget's unwavering motto, always do better than necessary, continues to inspire the approximately 390 employees at Piaget's Geneva and La Côte-aux-Fées locations. The founder would hardly recognize the scale of his vision today. Just across the street from his originally family home, the manufacturer not only produces the crème de la crème of mechanical watches, such as ultra-thin minute repeaters and tourbillons, but also boasts a storied 149-year history of watchmaking. Piaget's legacy is evident in the creation of famous calibers like the 9P, which in 1957 set the record as the thinnest hand-wound caliber with a movement thickness of only 2 millimeters. 60 years later, in 2018, the Altiplano Ultimate Concept automatic watch set a new world record with a collective thinness that matches that of its iconic predecessor.
I think the most fascinating thing about Piaget is its product and its people, because behind products there is people, and I think that's what I like the most.
Piaget embodies two souls, that of a watchmaker and a jeweler. The question is, how do they harmoniously coexist and complement each other in creating Piaget's exquisite creations?
We started as a manufacturer of movement and power movement parts in La Côte-aux-Fées 148 years ago. When the company moved to Geneva, they really started jewelry at the same time. But it's true, it was more watchmaking in percentage in the past, but now it's trying to stabilize and to have a balance between the two.
A luxury maison cannot thrive on a timeless philosophy alone. To truly excel, it must have several key pillars in place. Piaget, for example, has established itself as a leader in the luxury market with its exceptional watches and exquisite jewellery.
Piaget is maybe the first brand that merged jewelry and watches together. And it's very interesting because they had the vision, and it's a quotation from Mr. Piaget who said, "A watch is first and foremost a piece of jewelry." So their intention was not to be in the function of the watch, so the watch is not only there to read time or to be precise. You need something more. It's to have a creation that tells about you, about your style. And in fact, their idea, it was to make their clientele shine.
Piaget has established a global reputation in the crafting of both precious stones and gold, hasn't it?
When you talk about diamonds, it's Marquis cut diamonds. So to try to remain close to the fundamentals, to what the family really give us as pillar, as a grammar of style. One of the true inspiration of the family is nature. From La Côte-aux-Fées, they were designing the watch that, I don't know, Elizabeth Taylor bought from Piaget or Andy Warhol, but they were designing in a small village. So they had this vision, so it was important to be really connected to that vision and nature. And also couture, but not couture in the way to copy-paste fashion. It was just because gold started from a yarn of gold, so they were interested to sew gold, to try to craft embroidery with gold.
Piaget has gained a remarkable reputation in the realm of gold production. Every week, the manufacturer accumulates gold waste in the form of dust, chips or gold wool, totaling at least 400 kilos in a year, worth over 20 million euros when recycled. Money, gold and even coins hold significant importance for this maison, whose name is rooted in the collection of tolls, as evident from historical pictures dating back to the Piaget's family origins in the 16th century in the Swiss Jura region. Piaget's philosophy towards watches today is a far cry from their humble origins that had nothing to do with gold and diamonds. Instead, the focus was on creating essential watch components. Piaget's global success story began shortly after the Second World War, fueled by their unique approach to watch movements.
I think that Piaget has been, during a long period of time, a supplier of components and high quality and components for the industry. But they remain very humble, very discreet, without signing their watches. But they started in the 40s to do something that is very interesting. It's coin watches. So they were able, within a coin, to put a movement in a watch, which means that they were already on the way of ultra-thin movement. So what happened is that in 1943, they decided to register Piaget as a trademark. Before, Piaget was not a trademark. It was just a fabrique in one way. During and just after the Second World War, they created their first manufacture in La Côte-aux-Fées.
It's remarkable to think that Piaget registered itself as a trademark over 60 years after its establishment. Back then, the idea of watches being a piece of jewellery wasn't as apparent as it is today, especially with the prevalence of mechanical watches that prioritized functionality. Despite this, Piaget supplied some of the biggest names in the industry, including Breguet, Rolex, Cartier, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin, and Omega. But how did they incorporate gold and gemstones into their creations?
if your movement is a bit larger and less thick, you have more space for the dial. So the dial starts to be territory of creativity. If the dial is larger, then the bracelet is larger. Then the bracelet started to be a territory of expression and creativity also. And Piaget decided, at the time they revealed their ultra-thin movement, 9p and 12p, that their movement only deserved gold and platinum. So suddenly they were very attractive. And it's true that Piaget has attracted an elite of style.
Although the jewellery from Piaget is undoubtedly awe-inspiring, as enthusiasts of Swiss watches, we can't help but wonder what they have in store for us in the watch department. That's why we sat down with Rémi Jomard, the mastermind behind Piaget's timepiece development. Our curiosity piqued, we asked Rémi, what sets Piaget apart as a genuine watch manufacturer?
To really claim that you are a manufacturer, it should start from raw material till finished goods. And that's what we do over there.
So can you explain what kind of components of a watch you really do yourself?
First of all, the movement at our shop floor in La Côte-aux-Fées, and then watch cases on gold or steel, and we have a specific know-how on the gold bracelets.
So how many watchmakers do you employ?
I would say roughly 15 watchmakers on both sites, La Côte-aux-Fées and Plan-les-Ouates.
So you're also a studied designer and a technician. So how does your profession as a designer help you to design movements?
Here, technicity is at service of the aesthetic. So when you build an ultra-thin watch, you have huge constraints on how to put all the mechanical building blocks, but you always think you should put them there because first one works, second one looks nice.
Let us explore the key movements that Piaget has produced in more detail. If we examine the lineage of Piaget's current movements, we discover the hand-wound caliber 9p, which debuted in 1957 and had a movement thickness of only 2 mm, marking an unprecedented achievement. Additionally, the family tree of thin automatic movements began with the caliber 12p, another world record, in 1960. These two calibers produced improved movements, and Piaget continued to innovate after its acquisition by the Richemont Group in 1997. Perhaps the most significant breakthrough for Piaget in the 2000s was the introduction of the caliber 1200p in 2010, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the 12p caliber. This timepiece continues to be used to power Altiplano watches and set another world record for the company upon its unveiling.
I think the culture of the company, the universe of its values that have been brought up by Yves Piaget in the 50s, 60s, 70s, to be very bold, extravagant and elegant at the same time, and very joyful. That's the three values that they have in common. We would call it extravagant when you have elegance and extravagance at the same time.
When they felt that they had something in their hands incredible about style, they start first to be strong in advertising, and they created something that is completely, I would say, normal today, but that was really new at that time. It was galas and events for their clientele. In fact, at those galas and events, you had a mix of clients, celebrities, movie celebrities, but also from the music industry, but also, I would say, business people, and they were all mixing together and they were creating a kind of Piaget society that people wanted to belong to. The way that Piaget used to work gold attracted many artists, for instance Salvador Dali, because he decided to create his own currency. And in 1967, Monsieur Piaget and Salvador Dali met, and Piaget had the privilege of an exclusive collaboration. It was the maison that was able to create watches, jewels and accessories with the artistic coins of Monsieur Dali.
The list of famous clients of Piaget from the 60s and 70s is so extensive that it almost feels like it deserves its own movie. Pop art legend Andy Warhol became acquainted with Yves Piaget at various events and purchased an expressive Piaget timepiece in 1974. While Alain Delon sported his automatic caliber 12P watch, Cary Grant proudly presented his ultra-thin Piaget to Yves Piaget during his visit to the US. In 1971, Sophia Loren's assistant inquired about Piaget watches at the Geneva boutique. Interestingly, the palace bracelet style, which adorns one of Jackie Kennedy's watches, remains a specialty of the Maison to this day. It's worth noting that the celebrities of that era weren't just paid brand ambassadors. They were genuine customers of Piaget products.
The spread and the knowledge of luxury has increased. It attracts more and more people. Customers of Piaget are hedonists, that are happy for life, that are looking for pleasure and satisfaction for themselves. And there's a lot of joy of conviviality in this brand, and I think our customers are really like that. I'm sure you will see very interesting things in the future.
The dialogue of the Maison with artists has always been there because in the philosophy of the Maison, our artisans are our own artists.
However, there's another essential element that every watch brand requires: a flagship piece, an icon typically made out of steel, often in the form of a chronograph. But what if a company's philosophy does not include making steel watches and is more renowned for elegant gold watches? The solution is to create an elegant sports watch. For Piaget, this was achieved through the development of the Piaget Polo. But how did Yves Piaget conceive this watch, which was the first to carry its own model name?
Polo is a very good icon for us. It's really illustrating this chic, sporty watch that Piaget is doing and really illustrating what Piaget customers are.
The Polo watch is a totally new model for the Maison because Piaget was considered to be a dress watch. Sometimes in the US, the luxury is worn daily. So they decided to create a new watch that could be a kind of casual daily luxury, but fully in gold, ultra thin. At the same time, it's a bracelet with a watch, taking advantage of first the 7P and then the 8P, which are the first quartz ultra thin movement from the Maison.
Piaget has achieved a unique fusion of watchmaking, jewellery and craftsmanship, setting itself apart from other traditional luxury brands to this day. In the 1960s, Yves Piaget believed that a watch was essentially a piece of jewellery, a notion that holds more relevance than ever in the era of smartwatches. The vision of Piaget's founder, born in 1874, with his simple phrase, "always do better than necessary," continues to inspire Piaget's CEO Benjamin Comar and his entire team.